3:47 a.m. Downtown Chicago, Federal Plaza District. The city slept. Lake Michigan reflected nothing but darkness. But across the street from the Dirksen Federal Building, a convoy of unmarked black Suburbans rolled to silent stop. No lights, no sirens. Only the encrypted crackle of federal radios breaking the silence. 73 agents from FBI, DEA, and ICE formed tactical stacks outside Suite 1840. This was the office of Marcus Delano Webb, age 52, Senior Policy Director for Midwest Border Security and Immigration Oversight. 23 years of government service, congressional testimony, national security clearance, respected, untouchable. Until 3:47 a.m. on October 19, 2024, when federal power came for him.
At 3:48 a.m., the breaching team moved. Hydraulic ram struck the reinforced door. Steel buckled. FBI SWAT flooded into Suite 1840 with weapons raised. "Federal agents, nobody move!" The office appeared empty. Standard government workspace. Framed photos with senators. Commendation plaques on walls. The American flag in the corner. But FBI didn't come for decorations. They came for the truth hidden behind them. Behind a false panel, disguised as electrical access, agents found the first evidence. 31 sealed manila folders stamped classified. Each contained complete deportation files, names, photos, criminal records. 1,847 individuals flagged for immediate removal from the United States. Files that should have been processed. Instead, they were buried, hidden, sold. Every file had a handwritten notation in the margin, a dollar amount. The cheapest, $12,000. The most expensive, $340,000. This wasn't policy oversight. This was a price list for American residency. Inside Webb's private office, behind his desk, agents opened a floor safe concealed beneath mahogany panels. What they found stopped the room cold. $9.4 million in cash. Bundled, vacuum-sealed, stacked with military precision. But the money was just the beginning. Next to the cash sat 890 kilograms of pure fentanyl. Enough poison to kill every resident of Chicago 3 times over. Packaged in cartel-branded bricks, ready for distribution. Sitting in a federal office building, 20 floors above the street. Hidden in plain sight, while Webb testified to Congress about border security. Comment, drain the swamp, if you believe corrupt officials deserve life in federal prison. On Webb's desk sat 17 encrypted phones, still warm. Battery indicators showing recent use. FBI Cyber Division would later trace these phones to direct communication with Sinaloa cartel leadership in Culiacan, Mexico. But the most damning evidence was simpler. A leather-bound ledger, handwritten entries dating back 6 years. Each entry listed a shipment number, a date, a route, and a payment amount. Federal analysts cross-referenced the dates with customs records. The pattern was undeniable. 94 drug shipments marked as inspection waived in the federal system. 94 payments to Webb ranging from $180,000 to $620,000. Total $34.7 million. Every single shipment cleared because Webb ordered inspections cancelled. The poison that killed thousands of Americans moved through ports because a federal official sold his authority to a cartel. FBI agents photographed every document, catalogued every dollar, seized every piece of evidence. But they didn't stop there. Webb's computer contained encrypted files. FBI cyber specialists cracked the encryption within 40 minutes. What they found was a complete organizational chart. Webb wasn't working alone. He had built a network. 27 individuals, federal employees, port authorities, customs inspectors, police officers, all on cartel payroll, all coordinated through Webb's office. This wasn't one corrupt official. This was systematic infiltration of American security infrastructure. At 4:22 a.m., the radio crackled across federal channels. One word: execute. Operation Broken Trust launched. Across Chicago and 3 surrounding states, federal tactical teams hit 34 locations simultaneously. Apartments, warehouses, office buildings, port facilities. More than 280 federal agents deployed in coordinated strikes. This was federal power unleashed. No warnings, no leaks, no escape. Hit like if you support unlimited federal authority to destroy corruption networks. At a warehouse near O'Hare International Airport, FBI breached loading dock doors at exactly 4:22 a.m. Inside, agents found what appeared to be legitimate freight operations: forklifts, shipping containers, inventory manifests. But when agents opened container 7 Delta 19, the facade collapsed. 1.4 tons of cocaine, pure cartel product. Street value $67 million. Stacked floor to ceiling in a warehouse operating under federal customs approval. The facility manager tried to run. FBI agents tackled him before he reached the exit. In his pocket, a burner phone with Webb's personal number on speed dial. At a luxury condo in downtown Chicago, DEA agents arrested a senior customs official as he slept. His bedroom safe contained $4.2 million in cash and a notebook listing 47 cleared shipments with corresponding payment dates. Each entry matched deposits to offshore accounts FBI had been tracking for 9 months. The official's wife claimed ignorance. Federal prosecutors didn't believe her. When you live in a $3 million condo on an $87,000 government salary, somebody's lying. At Chicago's Port Authority, ICE agents arrested 6 inspectors simultaneously. Their lockers contained encrypted radios, cartel communications logs, and $890,000 in cash divided into duffel bags, labeled by name. One inspector had a printed schedule showing green light windows when specific cargo could pass without inspection. Federal analysts compared the schedule to overdose death spikes in Chicago. The correlation was exact. Every green light window preceded a surge in fentanyl deaths by 8 to 14 hours. These inspectors didn't just take bribes. They scheduled mass murder. At exactly 4:22 a.m. across Chicago and 3 states, FBI, DEA, and ICE agents executed 34 simultaneous raids, deploying 280 federal operators in the largest corruption takedown in Midwest history, demonstrating how federal coordination destroys criminal networks that infiltrate government institutions at the highest levels. The most violent confrontation occurred at a trucking depot in Gary, Indiana. Federal agents approached what intelligence indicated was a cartel distribution hub. Armed guards opened fire before agents could identify themselves. Bad decision. FBI hostage rescue team responded with overwhelming force. Precision fire, tactical superiority. Within 8 minutes, 3 guards were down with non-fatal wounds. 7 more surrendered. Inside the depot, agents found 2.7 tons of methamphetamine packaged for nationwide distribution. Ledgers showed the depot processed $240 million in drugs annually. all operating under protection provided by Webb's network. By 7 a.m., the scope of federal victory was staggering. 34 locations raided, 89 arrests across federal, state, and local agencies. $9.4 million seized from Webb's office, $47 million total seized from network locations. 890 kilograms of fentanyl, 1.4 tons of cocaine, 2.7 tons of methamphetamine. Total drugs seized, 5 tons. Street value, $380 million. But the numbers didn't capture the real damage. Webb's network had been operating for 6 years. 94 major shipments cleared, countless smaller loads. The total poison that reached American streets because of his corruption, incalculable. The American lives lost, thousands. Comment federal justice if corrupt officials should face execution for treason. Federal investigators worked for weeks processing evidence from Webb's office. The encrypted hard drives revealed something even darker than anyone expected. Webb hadn't just accepted bribes, he had built an auction system. A ghost server hidden on private network infrastructure, completely separated from official government systems. Through this server, Webb sold American security to the highest bidder: foreign criminal organizations, terrorist networks. Anyone with money could buy guaranteed passage through US Customs. FBI cyber analysts recovered the auction logs. Each entry showed a date, a port, a time window, and a starting bid. Criminal organizations bid against each other for green lane access, guaranteed passage without inspection. One auction showed 14 different bidders competing for a single night's access to Port of Houston. The winning bid? $840,000 for one night, for one guaranteed shipment. The timestamp matched a record seizure that federal agents missed because Webb's network ensured the wrong containers were inspected. The most horrifying discovery came when analysts matched auction dates to local crime data. November 3, 2023. Webb auctioned a green lane window at Port of Chicago. Winning bid, $670,000. 8 hours after the shipment cleared, Chicago hospitals reported the highest single-day overdose count in city history. 47 people dead in one day, from poison that Webb personally cleared for $670,000. Federal prosecutors laid the autopsy photos across the interrogation table in front of Webb. 47 faces, 47 lives, 47 families destroyed. Webb wouldn't look at them. He stared at the wall, silent, disconnected. To him, these weren't people. They were transactions, revenue. That was when prosecutors knew. This wasn't just corruption. This was complete sociopathic detachment from human consequences. The financial investigation revealed the true scope of Webb's operation. The $9.4 million in his office safe? Petty cash. The real money was offshore. FBI Financial Crimes Division traced 73 shell corporations, accounts in Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore. Real estate purchases in Miami, Los Angeles, and London. Private equity investments, cryptocurrency holdings. When federal forensic accountants finished, the total exceeded $127 million. All purchased with American blood. All subject to federal forfeiture. Federal prosecutors brought charges that silenced the courtroom. Conspiracy to distribute narcotics resulting in death. Money laundering, bribery of a public official, wire fraud, racketeering, obstruction of justice, and the charge that carried the death penalty, treason. Webb had sold access to America's borders to enemy organizations, had facilitated the importation of materials that killed thousands of American citizens, had used his position of trust to wage war against the country he swore to protect. Federal prosecutors requested execution. No plea deals, no reduced sentences. The evidence was overwhelming. The crimes were absolute. Federal justice would be final.
If you stand with federal agents who destroy corruption at the highest levels, type SWAT POWER.
The trials began 9 months after arrests. Federal prosecutors presented evidence that buried the defense. Surveillance footage, financial records, intercepted communications, testimony from cooperating witnesses. The ledger with Webb's handwriting listing every bribe. The autopsy reports of overdose victims connected to his cleared shipments. The auction logs showing him selling American security. Defense attorneys had nothing. They attempted to argue entrapment. Federal judges denied every motion. When you operate a 6-year criminal conspiracy that kills thousands, courts show zero mercy.
Webb was convicted on all 47 counts. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Every count. Federal judge scheduled sentencing. Victim impact statements filled 3 days. Parents who buried children killed by fentanyl, Webb cleared. Widows whose husbands overdosed on cartel poison. Federal agents who testified about investigations sabotaged by Webb's interference. The parade of suffering was overwhelming. Defense requested leniency. Federal judge's response was immediate. You sold your country for money. You facilitated the murder of thousands of Americans. You betrayed every oath you ever took. This court sentences you to life in federal prison without possibility of parole on each count to run consecutively. You will die in federal custody. That is my only mercy. I'm not executing you today, but you will never breathe free air again. The 88 co-conspirators faced similar fates. The customs inspectors received 30 to 40-year sentences. Port authorities got 25 to 35 years. Police officers who took cartel bribes received 20 to 30 years with badge betrayal enhancements. Lower-level facilitators who cooperated received reduced sentences of 15 to 20 years. But anyone who directly cleared drug shipments faced life sentences. Federal sentencing guidelines for narcotics trafficking resulting in death are absolute. Cooperation reduces time. Direct involvement in deaths, life in prison. No exceptions. Should federal employees who betray their positions face the death penalty? Comment yes or no. Operation Broken Trust transformed federal hiring and oversight. FBI implemented enhanced background checks for all employees with security clearance access. Random financial audits for anyone handling border security or customs. Mandatory polygraph examinations every 2 years. The changes were opposed by government employee unions. Federal leadership didn't care. When corruption kills Americans, convenience doesn't matter. Security does. Congress held hearings on Webb's network. How did one official build such extensive corruption? How did it operate for 6 years undetected? FBI director testified with brutal honesty. We trusted the system. We assumed federal employees with clearances were loyal. We were wrong. Webb proved that corruption can exist at any level. Our response is total institutional overhaul. Every employee, every department, every process. If you work for the American government, you will be vetted, monitored, and held accountable. The era of trust without verification is over. For Chicago residents, Operation Broken Trust was devastating revelation. The official who testified about border security
was selling access to cartels. The man who wrote policy memos about protecting Americans was poisoning them for profit. Community meetings filled with angry citizens demanding answers. How many other officials were compromised? How deep did corruption go? FBI couldn't provide complete answers. The investigation was ongoing. But they made one promise: every corrupt official would be found. Every network would be destroyed. Federal power wouldn't stop until American institutions were purged. The families of overdose victims whose deaths connected to Webb's cleared shipments filed massive civil lawsuits. Federal courts fast-tracked the cases. Webb's seized assets, $127 million, were divided among victim families. It didn't bring back the dead, didn't heal the wounds, but it sent a message. Federal government would ensure criminals paid every price: financial, physical, legal, moral. Complete accountability. For SWAT Power viewers, Operation Broken Trust demonstrates federal power's most critical mission: not just fighting cartels abroad, fighting corruption at home. When American officials betray their oaths, federal agents bring them to justice with the same overwhelming force used against any criminal. No badge provides immunity, no position offers protection. Treason is treason, whether committed by cartel member or government official. Federal justice applies equally to all. Federal power doesn't stop at destroying drug networks. It destroys the corruption that enables them. When officials sell their authority, federal agents buy it back with handcuffs and life sentences. This is SWAT power. Overwhelming force, total accountability, absolute justice. Marcus Delano Webb spent 23 years building reputation and 6 years destroying it. He'll spend the rest of his life in federal supermax prison, remembering the moment FBI came through his door at 3:47 a.m. When federal power strikes, no one is untouchable. No one is safe. No one escapes. Subscribe to SWAT Power for more operations where federal agents purge corruption from American institutions. When trusted officials become traitors, federal justice becomes absolute. This is federal power, protecting America from enemies, foreign and domestic. This is SWAT power. When the corrupt fall, federal agents are there to arrest them.